Good evening, race fans, and welcome to Podium Esports coverage of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series here on the iRacing Esports Network, where tonight we bring you the final round of Series 4, Round 8, live from Road America in Wisconsin. James Pike here alongside Ray Richer and Ryan Power, as always, punching buttons in the virtual production trailer. And Ray, this series in particular has been so much about fuel mileage, fuel strategy. The tank sizes have come into play over the course of every single race in Series 4 for every class. And the first race that I can think of in the history of PCA Sim Racing where fuel mileage really did matter was here at Road America in Series 2. So for a series that has been defined by managing fuel consumption, in that sense, it seems only fitting that the final round of Series 8 brings us back here where fuel saving in PCA Sim Racing began.
Keeping one thing in mind, James, here at Road America, 4.048 miles this course is, 14 turns. These cars get roughly about 6 miles per the gallon. They're burning off more than 3/4 of a gallon a lap, roughly. So keep in mind, fuel mileage tonight, as we were saying, will be a big factor in this race. Kind of new to me with these road courses and these Porsches, but looks like it's going to be a fun time this evening. I appreciate you having me alongside here in the broadcast booth this evening.
Going to be a lot of fun as we not only finish out the season, but we also look to crown some champions as well. 4 classes that will crown champions this evening, and 4 classes that we have to sort out here and figure out and piece together. And in this rookie class that will lead off the racing tonight, it is all about 2 drivers in particular, Brady McMacken and Lonray Sarumi. McMacken comes into tonight with 2,138 points, Sarumi with 1,994. It is not impossible for a Gary Rice or Kurt Clifford, who sit at 1958 and 1884 points respectively, to win the title. But realistically, it is McMacken versus Sarumi for the class title in this first race this evening.
Well, I got to say, too, I see McMacken's right on track right now, completing his second lap for qualifying. He's taking that Porsche RSR around, heading up the hill, down the back, actually the front stretch here, just past the pits. He's right now 13th position for starting this evening. It comes across the line. We'll put him in the 10th position. It moves him up only 3 places, but I'm sure even road course races, you definitely want to get as high as you can on the starting grid this evening. Looks like he's bringing it around turn 1. I'm not sure. I think he's going for another round here of qualifying.
We'll keep our eyes on McMacken, who I think is just getting the practice laps in now at this stage. He's got plenty of speed, plenty of pace. It's not really much of an issue for him as we get set for the first of 4 races this evening to close out PCA Sim Racing spring campaign and get to see who becomes the best rookie. This rookie class, the first class that will take to this track in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin this evening. And these are for drivers who have iRatings of, well, actually, can have iRatings higher than 1,300, but are new to PCA Sim Racing in this series. For those unacquainted with the iRating system, we'll bring it in a little bit more. It factors in more with the other 3 classes, but this is exclusively for those who have never run in PCA Sim Racing before and who aren't Series 4 as their first campaign with this particular PCA activity. So we'll get set to show you who starts where and line them all up for this final race of Series 4, Round 8 from Road America. The rookie class grid looks like this. Michael Coopersmith, once again, the fastest driver in qualifying with a time of 2 minutes and 2.749 seconds to take top spot at the first spot on the grid ahead of Juan Albers. Dwayne Cronin will start from 3rd. Brent Rosen begins this evening from the 4th position, and Kevin Douglas rolls off from 5th. 6th is where you'll find Kurt Clifford, Lance Wilsey, and it starts in 7th. 8th will be Jonathan Brell. John D'Angelo begins tonight from 9th, and Brady McMacken begins from 10th. One of your championship contenders and the points leader coming into this evening. Jared Rodever starts from the 11th position. 12th will be Ryan McGee. Rob Phillips starts from the 13th spot. 14th will be Gary Rice. Brian Leary, Chris Siborowski start 15th and 16th. 17th will be Lonray Sarumi, and it's pretty easy math amongst those two. If McMacken beats Sarumi heads up, he will almost certainly be the rookie class champion in Series 4. Ronald Cahill starts 18th. 19th will be Timothy Watson, and Chris Randall begins from 20th. Bruce Fraby starts from 21st, 22nd. It's Tyler Edwards, Jim Hemmick, 23rd, Dean Chapman in 24th. Few cars elected not to take time in this race. Greg Palmer, David Trinder, and Brian Giddinelli are the three who will start 25th, 26th, and 27th to round out this grid, respectively. As we take a look at the track facts, Ray, this is the full course at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Pretty straightforward. You're getting all of Road America's best. This 4.048 mile, 6.515 kilometer course with 14 turns. We run in the morning once again in sim time. Is iRacing Day, the default day, May 15th, 2020. It is currently about 7:45 in the morning in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, within the sim. Current temps are pretty even across the board. 65 degrees Fahrenheit air temp, 67 degrees Fahrenheit track temp. Winds headed to the north at 2 miles an hour, 55% humidity. That will lift a little bit as these races progress. Ray, I think of Road America. I think of a lot of speed, to be fair. There are a lot of straightaways where you can really just book it here, and a lot of difficult braking corners, I think. A lot of hard braking zones, and in particular, the run outs down to turn 5, very particularly tricky to me, because not only is it maybe the hardest braking section on the course, but you also go downhill pretty significantly to that turn. So you have to be very careful about how you work your way around the area.
Yeah, and they're calling that the Moraine sweep down to turn 5 there, James. As they hit turn 5s underneath the Sargentino truck you see there painted across the bridge. They'll hit turn 5, make that hard left up to turn 6, which is an uphill battle towards the Corvette sign. And you see them getting to that point right now as Jonathan makes his way to that turn. We're getting down there very shortly. As they make a left on 5, right a left onto 6, then a sharp right onto 7. When they hit number 7, they're going to be mostly full throttle, almost in 4th gear going through there. Of course, again, we're hitting down through turn 6 right now. Excuse a little delay. We're trying to catch up with the pack.
Get everybody covered here. And the 6, 7, 8 complex that these drivers are going through now, interesting just because you usually tend to be pretty full throttle. 7, you might have to ride it a little bit. And then 8's another one of those difficult braking zones. I think an underrated braking zone in terms of difficulty. People think of 5 and they think of Canada Corner, turn 12, as some of the signature spots on this track. But the most signature turn of all, hands down, no question, is the carousel that these drivers are about to enter once they pass the Johnsonville Bridge. This long, lazy, sweeping right-hander that shoots you off into the kink and down Kettle Bottoms, that long back straightaway here at Road America before you get to Canada Corner, turn 12.
Yeah, they'll be full throttling it down through there, through the Kettle Bottoms, as they call it, from turn 11 down to Canada Corner, turn 12. And as they're in the throttle, they'll get to a point just so it's a right-hand turn in the Canadian Corner down at that point. I did actually take one of these cars out for a ride before we went to broadcast this night, and I counted at least 44 times that I shifted. I'm sure that these guys at full speed will be at least more than that at that point, as you see them going down the S's, which is the kink right now, to the Kettle Bottoms, and heading down towards Canadian Corner.
You head through Canada Corner, and you have to work your way through the trees here and figure out your braking points pretty quickly. I'll admit, I've done more laps here in the Cayman GT4 than I have the 911 GTLM that you see these drivers taking to this evening. And the Cayman, incidentally, will be the car for Series 5 in the fall for PCA Sim Racing, so more to see of that. But they come through Canada Corners, you see with the leaders now, and then you go uphill, and it's a tricky left-hander into the Bill Mitchell bend, turn 13, because it is a blind apex and crest, and you're sort of guessing as to where you're going before you climb back up the hill and set yourself up for turn 14 and the final run onto the front straightaways. We're glad you're with us here on the iRacing Esports Network. We will crown a champion in this race and in 3 others. It is the final night of the spring for PCA Sim Racing, the final night of Series 4. Michael Coopersmith, the driver who will lead them to the green flag, alongside Juan Albers and Dwayne Cronin, and we are underway with racing at Road America as they begin to form into one long train to get down into turn 1, which in and of itself is another one of those tricky, hard braking corners, and they all sort themselves down into one pretty cleanly amongst the front cars in this field and continue their way down into turn 2 and 3 and underneath the Briggs & Stratton sign.
Coming down through turn 3, Cooper Smith has the lead, at least out by 4 lengths. Pretty hard through that corner, and Juan right behind him, right in the tire tracks, using that draft down that long straight to turn 5 under the Sargentino tractor trailer paint there. Full bore, they'll hit 5th gear, maybe even 6th to top out those engines down into turn 5 downhill.
And then downhill into turn 5 for the first time, the trickiest braking spot in this track by far, and a place where you can make a move if you set it up right, just like Jonathan Brell did. He got to the inside of Brent Rosen and took over the 6th position. Excellent move from Brell to take advantage of that braking zone and jump up a spot. But in the meantime, Cooper Smith, as expected, he's been the fastest man in the rookie class since he joined a few races ago, and yet again, he's already out in front of Juan Albers by about half a second. Battle might be on for 4th, though, between Dwayne Cronin and Lance Wilsey as they work towards the carousel, and Brell overshot the corner in turn 8 and ended up with a gravel trap, so he'll slide down the order. A few more following behind him, and everybody scoots away as it looks like Cronin was able to clear Wilsey for 4th coming out of the carousel and towards the kink.
Cooper Smith down through the kettle bottoms, heading towards the Canadian corner, turn 12. He'll full throttle it down through there and even extend the lead a little bit further between him and Albers. Juan ended up in 2nd, but 5 car lengths back. He'll gain a little bit down through the Canadian corner, catch it up to about 3 car lengths for the lead.
Talk about a driver on the move already on this first lap. Dwayne Cronin has serious speed, I think, as he jumps up. Didn't get the greatest of starts. He slipped back to 5th, but immediately got back around Lance Wilson and is working over Kevin Douglas and is within about maybe half a second and a little bit less of that number 810 to get back into the podium positions.
Your leaders bring it down to the Road America straight. They'll hit the start-finish line, complete lap 1. Of course, Cooper Smith still way out front, about 10 car lengths a second. All the way back to Douglas, who is in 3rd, and he's going to have a challenge here from Dwayne here very shortly as they head down through turn 2.
This is the battle of watch right here between Cronin and Douglas. You see Cronin set it up to the inside, and absolutely no contest from Kevin Douglas. So Dwayne Cronin up into P3, although he might try and fight back, and he could well have the inside going down into turn 5. That very tough left-hander, the tightest corner on this course. What does Douglas do heading down into 5, 6, 7, and 8?
And right behind them is Wilsey. He's catching the tail end of them. He looks to the inside of Cronin, actually has over 4th spot, and now he sets his sight on Douglas, going up the straight to the Corvette sign for turn 6.
That was a tremendous move from Lance Wilsey to come from as far back as he did, going into turn 5 to get the spot as Douglas loops it around coming out of 6th and ends up over off to the side in the grass. That'll allow Brent Rosen, Kirk Clifford, John D'Angelo, Jared Rodeheaver, Brady McMacken, Ryan McGee, pretty much everybody. Douglas isn't going to get rolling until he slides back into the 15th spot, and he may well get passed by Chris Randall here too, depending on how quickly Randall gets back up to speed. So a major incident there for Douglas and a big mistake for the 810 to slide out of the 4th position. Meanwhile, it's Cooper Smith ahead of Albers by 2 seconds, then Cronin, then Wilsey, then Rosen, and then Clifford and D'Angelo with a good fight of their own for 6th and 7th.
Wilsey tailing up through. He actually overdrove turn 7 just a little bit before the carousel. Lost a little bit of time, but looks like he's making it up down here in turn 12. He'll go up the S's. Almost overdriving just a little bit, but still taking on the tail end of Cronin. Cronin up there, still trying to catch up to these leaders. These leaders out front at least by a 15 car lengths as we watch Cooper Smith go up the hill, and he's basically in his own zip code right now down the front stretch.
Kirk Clifford, part of the Rocky Mountain region of the PCA, which covers a lot of Colorado and Wyoming and gets you right up in the mountains. D'Angelo, a member of the Loma Prieta region of the PCA, which covers the greater Sacramento area. So D'Angelo putting on a show for the West Coasters as Clifford gets sideways and missed the apex of one entirely and slides off into the gravel, and D'Angelo slides up into 6th. So again, this is a track difficult enough, Ray, where I think there is a lot more to racing this track than there is to racing the cars around you tonight. This is not an easy place to get around, especially when you're working with the amount of power that these 911 GTLMs have.
You've got to have a lot of patience, especially even shifting gears and braking, not just to take and set up your opponent, but with these cars, and like you just said, James, the horsepower in these probably pushing around 600 to 700 horsepower, I would imagine anyways. Looking back up right now with 4th place position of Wilsey. Lance still overdrove the corner a little bit back there, but now again gaining on Cronin. Cronin down through turn 6, now 7, as we see, I believe That was Clifford spun the car again coming out of turn 7.
Suspense plenty here. Some of these drivers struggling on cold tires. The battle, though, to watch may well be for third once again. Dwayne Cronin's in the thick of it, but this time he is the hunted, not the hunter. Lance Wilsey is the man coming on strong. Wilsey was 0.2 faster than Cronin that last lap. And the number 12 machine's shown plenty of speed in these past few weeks, so no surprise that he continues to climb towards the front.
Wilsey right now still hunting down that rear end of Cronin. Cronin still a good 5-6 car lengths ahead. They'll come down to the Canadian corner. Again, still even back to 8. This is now, by the way, a timed race, 30 minutes so far, 11:44 into this race. Still got a long way to go, probably a good at least 10 laps, I would assume, with these guys. Plenty of time for Wilsey to take over that third spot. He'll gain a little bit on the last turn, heading up the straight.
More importantly, when it comes to championship implications, issues for Lanre Sarumi in turn 5 made contact with Dean Chapman, and those two got together, and Sarumi spun around, and now he's deep in the running order, and that's significant because he needs to beat Brady McMacken and beat Brady McMacken by a significant amount of positions. At this point, I think it's close enough to where even if Sarumi found some way to get back and get the lead, that McMacken would be good to go. He's in P7 at the moment, is McMacken. So this is all playing right into Brady McMacken's hands for the rookie class title in Series 4 as it stands.
Lap 4 of 15 right now in the books. Here we go. Keeping an eye on that leader of Cooper Smith. He's 3.5 seconds last time at the line ahead of Juan there in that 25 machine. Juan back in turn 7, trying to make it up the hill, turn 5, up the hill to the Corvette sign. And it looks like Cronin may be closing in on him just a little bit, but again, not without the challenge of the 4th place Wilsey.
A little bit, and you can see times are definitely coming down. Cronin was 0.2 faster than Albers that last time by, but Wilsey was 0.3 faster than Cronin. So the two trailing cars are both faster than our second place car, but the driver in P4 is faster than the driver in P3, and if he plays this right, he could end up leapfrogging both of them. So we'll keep our eyes on Cronin and Wilsey as they come through the carousel towards the kink.
The 909 of Brent Rosen there entering the carousel just as Wilsey exiting. That's how much of a distance it is from 4th to 5th. Been keeping an eye on Rosen for a little bit. He's quite the ways back right now, but thought he was going to gain, but not as much as I thought. Overdrove that Canadian corner uphill through the straight. Still on the hunt to get up to the top 4.
Got room to slide up to the top 4. Cronin still being headed by Wilsey. They come up through Canada corner and work their way through the Bill Mitchell bend up to turn 14, back onto the front straight. And the question, I think, is going to be, big move there from Lance Wilsey. He tried to send it in the inside of turn 14, and that ended up sort of killing his momentum coming down the front straightaway, which is a bit disappointing only because you line up the front straightaway right here at Road America and pay attention to and use the draft. You can set up a move going into turn 1. It's long enough, and if you're close enough, the whole front straight basically acts like a gigantic DRS stretch with Formula One cars or even the Le Mans prototypes from way back in the day.
Remember that patience word we talked about earlier there, James. Wilsey has definitely got it, but again, he tried to force the issue there on the turn, entering the front straight. We see him now come down. Still in the tracks of Cronin. Cronin not changing anything. Wilsey trying to take and change his line every time he hits the corner when he's close enough, but just not enough to get that car around. That Cronin machine just seems to be a lot faster coming around the outside of the turn than Wilsey does.
But Wilsey is much, much better in the brakes, and you can see it going into turn 5. He ran light a little bit there, but you look at the braking zones in particular here. I think that's where Wilsey may have the opportunity to do something. Turn 5, turn 8, Canada corner in turn 12, turn 1. Those 4 spots tend to be the best passing opportunities on this racetrack, and it's all about how you get on the brakes and get into corners. And Lance Wilsey, by comparison, is pretty much eating Dwayne Cronin alive on corner entry. Every time you have to stop the car, he's far superior on brakes on entry, but can he find a way to get off the corner to complete the pass as well? That, Ray Richard, is the real question.
Yes, sir. Between second and third place right now, 2 seconds separate those two between Juan and Dwayne Cronin. Cronin still trying to fend off Wilsey for that 4th position, as we've been talking about all this time. They'll bring it down through the S's, down to Canadian corner. And as we see Juan go through the corner nice and easy like, that actually gives an advantage right now to Cronin to catch up a few spots. But will he be able to catch him before the end of this race?
It's the best battle on track by far right now. Only other battle that's anywhere near as close is for 10th, 11th, and 12th. Jared Rodever, Gary Rice, and Kevin Douglas all within about 2 seconds of one another. But it's not what we're seeing here with Cronin and Wilsey, who I think did set it up a little bit better coming out of 14 that last time by. And he will look to get the draft down this long front straightaway and maybe look to make something happen in one. He ducks to the inside, then thinks better of it, gets back in line, but ever so slightly is creeping up on that rear bumper of the number one machine.
And both of those two just knocked off a half a second on our second place guy of Juan in the 25 machine. He'll bring it down to turn 3 for that long stretch. Overdrive just a little bit off of those rumble strips, but these two have been at it for the past 5 laps. It's been a great battle between Wilsey and Cronin. Of course, we keep saying their names every lap because it's been the best battle so far during this race. Wilsey right now still doing his best to try to get to the inside. He'll take the short way around, looks to set it up here in turn 5, does not do it yet. Still makes up a car length there on Cronin, and they'll fought up to turn 6.
I think the interesting question, Ray, and one that I'm going to ask you as a sort of driver and parent, if you are in Wilsey's spot and you know you have Cronin beat for pace, especially on corner entry, how long do you wait knowing that Michael Coopersmith is getting away, knowing that Juan Albers is getting away? Do you push the issue and force it somewhere to get clear of Cronin and really start running those drivers down, or are you content to ride and wait and just wait for your moment to come?
Well, it comes back to that word patience. I hate to keep saying that, but again, it's the biggest thing in racing. You've really got to see where they're screwing up in front of you, what's going to happen to his car. So you really got to take your time, but still, you cannot underdrive the car. You've got to drive it hard every lap. Like as we see right now, Wilsey seems to fall off a few of their lengths to the Colin Mobile, and as they have some lap traffic coming up down through here in the Canadian corner, Cronin will take and lock up the brakes, but still gives Wilsey a little bit of the advantage to catch up. Right now, fighting for that second spot between Juan and Dwayne.
And all of a second, this has become a 3-car battle for the second, third, and fourth positions as Albers can't find his way around the lap traffic. He nearly backed it up into Dwayne Cronin, who has nowhere to go. They all had to back it up, so this is going to bring Lance Wilsey right into it. And it is a 3-car train for second, third, and fourth. Coming down the front straightaway, there goes Cronin to the inside of block. He moves down towards the wall. Wilsey sits in the middle of the corner. Now Cronin looking underneath Juan Albers, who's not going to put up a fight. Albers is going to stay wide, so Cronin will get to the inside and probably take the spot. And the question will be whether or not the same can be said for Lance Wilsey, who can only do as good as hiding behind that number 25.
Cronin now into the second place position, walking away from Albers. Albers still trying to fend off Wilsey. Wilsey right now in his tire tracks, and it looks like they're going to have a battle down this long stretch. Right side by side they go, and it looks like Albers will take over that second spot again.
So Albers gets him back coming out of 3. Looks like Cronin might have slid a little bit out of 3 as they nearly get into each other, and everybody locks it up on the brakes, and Cronin goes wide, and Wilsey finally gets alongside that number 1 once again. He'll be to the inside going in 6th. Does he force the issue? No. Cronin gets the spot back, and after all of that, we're right back in the same order that we were coming across the line, right?
We're not done yet, though, James. This is a crazy battle going on. Again, they kind of spread out now, but we're going to be halfway through next lap. So these guys will take it down to the carousel, where, again, we have lap traffic involved going on now as we see Albers get around that lap car. I believe that was, I'm not sure it was Cronkin or not, but either way, they got around them. All 3 of them seem to get through smoothly. They'll take it down through the S's, down to the back, and the battle ensues down to the Canadian corner.
To Canada corner they come once again as they come through Kettle Bottoms and work their way down this long straightaway into this very famous turn 12. There are a lot of good passing spots here. Big slide from Cronin once again, who somehow hung on to it and now has a rearview mirror full of Lance Wilsey going up through 13 and 14.
Wilsey not trying to overdrive that corner on 13, which is easy to do. He gets to the bumper right now, Cronin. Cronin easily on the inside, blocks Wilsey. Wilsey to the outside, gets in the tire tracks and back in the draft down the front stretch as all this is happening. Albers is walking away and back up front to Coopersmith. Last time at the line, he was 8.7 seconds ahead. Now make that 10.8. Added on a whole 2.1 seconds just that lap with the battle going on behind him.
You think Michael Coopersmith minds all these drivers fighting tooth and nail for second, third, and fourth? I don't think he's got a problem with it whatsoever if it means his lead continues to increase. And I don't think Juan Albers is going to complain all that much about Cronin and Wilsey just running all over each other, trying to maintain the spot. Cronin missed his exit to out of 3, and Wilsey went into the grass after trying to go to the inside of Cronin to get the spot. So now Wilsey, that might have been the biggest mistake of all. He lost about a second to Dwayne Cronin coming down the straight to turn 5. So now all of a sudden, Wilsey's got to start hot lapping a little bit just to get back onto the rear end of this battle.
You know, if it was a bad move or not, regardless, it was a great recovery. I mean, he's still going to take and have a lot to catch up to that Cronin machine, but regardless, man, he's still holding on to that thing. I think the tires are getting worn out with the battle that he's been having up through, but now as I'm watching him, he'll come down through turn 7, and he looks like he's losing a little bit more position, even maybe another second in that Cronin machine.
Does beg the question, maybe, just maybe, Lance Wilsey might have burned the tires off the number 12 already. We've seen how deep he's gone into some of these corners, and Cronin may well have successfully held him off anyway. So all of a sudden, Wilsey back 3 seconds plus compared to Dwayne Cronin as Gary Rice and Kevin Douglas continue to fight for position, and that now becomes the best battle on the racetrack.
Going back to the Douglas machine, Gary Rice, and I believe that'd be Kevin Douglas right behind him. All 3 of them right close to close under the Speedville sign through the carousel. And side by side, they'll go for that 10th place spot.
Really good stuff. Kevin Douglas racing the lap machine of Rob Phillips, trying to at least get the track position, but Phillips maintains on the outside, and Douglas will have to continue to fight the lap traffic to get back to Gary Rice, who's just at the racetrack ahead of that machine, but needs to find a way around and needs to find something here in Canada Corner. Not a bad spot to try and look for something.
And he'll look to the inside, but again, follow him through Canada Corner. Up through turn 13, which I said before, turn 13, I've been here before in a cup car, believe it or not, playing around, and you can overdrive that corner very easily, although these cars are a little bit lighter and a lot more horsepower, but regardless, these guys are putting on a killer battle from, let's see, 8th on back through 10th.
And Gary Rice slipped up, but here comes Kevin Douglas down pit road for service. So Douglas was about to have the run on both the lap machine and Rice, but elects to come in for service along with Lance Wilsey, who I think may have heard what you said about the tires, Ray Richards. So those 2 in. We'll wait and see what everybody else does over the next few laps, but the pin window is most definitely open.
Rice right now will take that 9th spot. We'll keep an eye on him for just a little bit of lap traffic behind him. Nothing serious. He'll take it down through turn 3 and onto the long stretch underneath that sign for, the Sargentino cheese. As we go back up to the leader for just a moment, Mr. Michael Coopersmith right now with a 12.672 lead. Now, James, if you don't mind me asking, I don't know what the fuel load is on these cars. Will they be able to make it through the full 15 laps?
You're going to have to pit at some point, but you got variance on when you pit. Some of the back markers already coming in for service. The front runners, though, are going to stay out as you would expect and go as long as they possibly can. And before they actually get to pit road and get there and get their service, we will take our VRS Midway Race Break, which is brought to you by Virtual Racing School. VRS is the official setup provider for PCA Sim Racing and is home to a wide variety of tools to help you become faster. Learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion Ray Alfala, 3-time iRacing World Champion Martin Krunke, inaugural iRacing Rallycross champion Mitchell DeYoung, and other top sim racers. Coopersmith is your leader by 13 seconds over Juan Albers. Dwayne Cronin runs in the 3rd spot. 4th belongs to Brent Rosen. John DeAngelo sits in the 5th position. 6th is Brady McMacken. Chris Siborowski runs in 7th. Gary Rice runs in 8th. Jared Rodeheber is 9th. And Lance Wilsey currently sits in the 10th position. Timothy Watson runs in 11th. 12th belongs to Kevin Douglas. Brian Leary is in 13th. 14th is Tyler Edwards. 15th, Kirk Clickard. Brian Giddinelli runs in 16th. Rob Phillips runs in 17th. 18th is Chris Randall. 19th, Dean Chapman. And 20th to Ryan McGee. Ronald Cahill, Bruce Fraby, Jonathan Brell, Lanre Sarumi, and Greg Palmer run from 21st to 25th. Jim Hemmig and David Trinder round out your 27-car field. And that concludes our first VRS Midway Race Break of the evening. And for more information on Virtual Racing School, visit www.virtualracingschool.com. As Michael Coopersmith has not come down, drivers in at this time, Brady McMacken and Chris Siborowski 8th and 9th on the board as it stands, but Coopersmith has not pit, nor has Albers, Cronin, D'Angelo, Rice, or Roadheaver.
Juan Albers actually in second place. Been watching that battle while you were doing the mid-race break. Albers overdrives it before the carousel, gives Cronin just an advantage to pull up to him, but didn't take that advantage going through the carousel. He'll go through the low side of him, trying to make up for that space. Second and third right now seems to be the best battle on the track.
One of those cases where we've seen somebody fighting for second the entirety of this race, and it has indeed been the best battle throughout the race, and yet it seems like a bit of a revolving door. We don't necessarily know who's going to be in second and who's going to be the chaser on this one, as there's a big move, or at least a big look from Dwayne Cronin. He shot to the inside at Canada Corner and tried to get around Juan Albers, but didn't have enough room. So Albers maintains second. And the question now from Cronin is, what sort of momentum does he get out of the final corner here to carry him down the front straight into turn one?
So my next curiosity is how old are their tires? They're 10 laps right now. They're going to be on lap 11 when they hit the start-finish line. Actually watching Cronin back off a little bit from that second place of Albers. We're waiting to see if these guys are going to pit for fresh tires. They're way out front. Again, 5 laps to go right now at the line for this first race. And again, Cronin not making up much room here on the front stretch as they hit turn one.
We'll emphasize the estimated 5 laps to go in this race. We run off the clock, and then once these drivers get around the 1 to 2 minute mark, they'll either have an extra lap or the next lap will be their last lap, depending on whether or not they have time to complete the lap that they are currently on. So at this stage, you're probably looking at a white flag of somewhere in the ballpark of 2 minutes and 4 seconds left to go, or later. That's when these drivers should be in. And just with the way they're running, I think we are probably going to be pretty clear for the early white flag. So I think it'll be a straightforward white flag, and that lap will be the last one. We're not going to need an extra one, because I don't think these drivers are going to cross the start-finish line with maybe a second or two to go and force them to run an entire extra lap at this point.
Yeah, that's one thing I was a little confused on, was times and laps, but obviously we're 27 minutes into this run. And again, we're on lap 11. Juan Albers way out front there in the second place spot, again about 10 car lengths from third. Cronin, I've been watching him. He's been taking his turns a little bit wider. I don't think he can keep that car on the bottom of the turns as easy as he did before. And obviously that's shortening up his time, but regardless, he's doing his best to knock out that second place spot to finish in a higher position. Still, a podium finish for him is not a bad thing in the position that he's in.
Also of note, Brady McMacken, points leader, currently in 10th, looking to get the 9th spot from Timothy Watson, who has yet to come down pit road. So McMacken continuing his charge up the field. If you're looking for Lanre Sarumi, down in 23rd position. That will not be enough to win the title for Sarumi this evening, and I would say he is not totally out of it, but it is close. Rice is having a decent run in 5th. However, he needed a very, very big run tonight. He came into tonight's race 80 points south of your points leader, Brady McMacken. At that point, he would need McMacken to finish about 15th or worse to even have a shot at this if he won. So, any finish within the top 15 for McMacken as it stands is going to win him the title outright. And Rice running in 5th extends that gap a little bit further. I think he could come all the way back at about maybe, call it what? 19th almost, I think. Somewhere 18th, 19th, and still be okay. So McMacken in very good shape for the class title as it stands. Meanwhile, your leader, Michael Coopersmith, is in pit road.
Coopersmith finally getting fresh tires. Juan Albers still out there in the second place position. Dwayne Cronin right behind him. Nothing has really changed with these guys except for looks like Cronin overdrove that turn there, which was turn 5. He'll come up the hill to turn 6. Still going wide in the turn, trying to cut a little bit shorter, but not enough to catch Albers. Albers right now heading down towards turn 7. He'll take it down and still ahead, gain another length at Cronin.
Maybe the more interesting story here, Brent Rosen came in with a 6-second stop and just picked up some fuel, and now is ahead of Michael Coopersmith by about 5 seconds. So Rosen is the first one to leapfrog your race leader in the pit cycles, and Coopersmith is going to have to run down the 909 if he wants to lead. Meanwhile, McMacken now in for service again, I believe.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he took tires the first time around. I don't know if he did pit, to be honest with you there, James. But keeping an eye on him, we'll see if he just takes fuel now as he goes down to his pit stop. It's quite a ways down the way here before he stops. We'll see how quick it is when he gets in and out.
So McMacken will come in for service, and I think you're right. Upon reflection, this is indeed his first pit stop. So one of those things that we'll have to keep an eye on. Hasn't necessarily been excessively quick, but he comes in to top off for fuel, so it's not a long stop for McMacken.
Oh, Cronin loses it in turn 14.
Oh, Dwayne Cronin in trouble, though. He is all the way off in 14, trying to come onto the front straightaway, and just got a little bit sideways on quarter exit, managed to loop it around. We'll see if Cronin decides to bring it in, and he does indeed. No question after the way that panned out, he just decided the easier thing to do would be to come down in, and yeah, just got on the grass, actually. That's what did it. He got on the grass and then lost the rear end of his number one 911 GTLM and had to back it up and sort himself out to get himself a good position, and then decided after all that, if I'm already around and I'm already slow, I might as well go ahead and come in for service. So Cronin into his box from P3, as is Juan Alvarez.
Watching now the 52 of John D'Angelo. He just took over that third place spot, which on my scoring here, I'm just trying to catch up with you. I show Juan Albers out front with John D'Angelo in second. And if you can correct me on that, I think you said Gary Rice actually shows fourth on my screen. Not exactly sure how the lineup's going on your end. I'm just trying to figure it out here, bub.
Live timing and scoring via ATVO has D'Angelo ahead of Albers after Albers made that pit stop by about 20 seconds. So you, of course, factor in the delta that will come when D'Angelo comes for his pit stop, and Albers should reassume the race lead over, you would think, Rosen and Coopersmith, given that Rice and Roadheaver currently running third and fourth, but they too need to come down pit road. So should be, once this all cycles through, Albers, then Rosen, then Coopersmith, and Coopersmith has run down Rosen. It's already down to 1.2 seconds from the 5 seconds that Coopersmith had to make up when he came out of pit road a few laps ago.
Lap 13 right now. Keep an eye on that, Brent Rosen. Rosen has nobody to challenge him around him except for Coopersmith, who is 15 car lengths behind him, roughly. They'll take it down to turn 7. They're going to head to the carousel next. We'll see what if he can hold on to that top spot. Coopersmith trying to run him down, at least at this point. He'll overdrive it just a little bit, hit the carousel, and not make up for any lost time.
Eyes on that points battle as well. Rice currently sits in the third position. It was an 80-point gap he came into tonight. And with the way the points stack up, it needed to be a big night for him, and it might not be enough. McMacken can finish 16th or worse at this stage and still be good. He currently sits in 12th. And even if some of these cars ahead of him don't pick, McMacken should be in good shape. Just has to finish off these final 2 laps. As D'Angelo now comes in for service, it'll be Rice and Roadheaver that may try and push it just a little bit more. Here comes Roadheaver in for service, and Rice as well. So now this is where all these drivers who have come down pit road for service will begin to jump some of these drivers in the standings. Rice already a little bit further back. They've already slipped to 6th. Here comes Roadheaver down pit road 2. D'Angelo in his box for service, waiting on Lance Wilsey, who now exits turn 14 and begins his run up the front straight. All on the 25 machine at this point. Juan Albers in good shape. It's 10 seconds to Michael Coopersmith, who took a full pit stop. Albers just stopped for fuel and managed to play the strategy game, and he may be in good shape here. We'll see if we get whites or checkers when they come across the stripe next time by. It could well be enough for Albers to come around one more time and claim the race victory. We'll see what they say when they work their way back around the other side of the racetrack. Got about a minute and change left to complete this lap, but he's already on the backside of the racetrack, so he may well get to the line, and we may have one of those weird situations where these drivers need to go a whole nother lap because Albers got the line with maybe 5-6 seconds to go, something of that nature. He currently runs through Kettle Bottoms and works his way towards Canada Corner, and as he does that, Timothy Watson's the only driver who is yet to come down pit road in this race. Everybody else has stopped. And Brady McMacken, your points leader, sits in 12th, and Gary Rice has dropped back to the 5th spot after he came down for service. So McMacken's still in good shape for the rookie title. We will see what happens over these next few minutes or so. But as Albers comes up the hill, it will be the white flag for the number 25 with maybe 10 seconds to go when he hits the line. So not a lot, but it's enough to force one more lap on this field. And Albers will begin his final circuit at Road America. We'll keep an eye on Albers and maybe on Cooper Smith if he can bring it back. And Brady McMacken in the number 12 machine. He too will have one lap to go when he comes back around the stripe to pick up the Series 4 rookie class title. Albers here in very good shape. It's 8.5 seconds back to the 4 of Michael Cooper Smith. Brent Rosen is in the mix too. Not really too many good battles. The pit stops largely cycled everyone around in this race, so not really much that any of these drivers have to worry about, save for lap traffic. In Albers' case, it's just Chris Randall who is decently far ahead at the racetrack, far enough to where I'm not necessarily convinced that Albers is going to catch him, as Albers makes his way up towards the carousel, and Randall makes his way a little bit further back, actually. We'll see who jumps ahead and who makes moves happen as Albers continues now to trail on these lap cars, but lead the field around Road America one last time. When we look back on this race, Ray Richard, it's pit strategy, pit strategy, pit strategy, and if you can manage it, you can hit it right. What do you have to say about Albers taking the short stop as opposed to Cooper Smith's full stop? Speechless. That's what he has to say. It was such good strategy, and in fairness to Albers, it's won him this race, or at least has put him in line to do it as he works his way through 13 and turn 14 for the final time. No stopping the pit strategy and the fuel pickup for Juan Albers, who brings that number 25 across the line and will win the rookie class season finale of Series 4 for PCA Sim Racing at Road America. And now all eyes turn to Brady McMacken in the number 19 machine, who just has to complete this lap. Rice sits in 5th. McMacken will be in 11th. It will be a bit of a point gain for Rice, but it won't be enough. 296 to 260, and given the gap was about 80 points, you can do the math. 30 still leaves you 50 that you need to gain. So Rice with a solid run to end the season and may well take over second in points at the end of it all from Lanre Sarumi. He comes off the final straightaway and will wrap up this race and his campaign in Series 4 PCA Sim Racing. But so long as Brady McMacken survives, he wrecks. McMacken goes around on the back straightaway. Not really too many people to worry about here. He slides around and is going to try and get back going again. Not too much of a gap to have to worry about, though. Just hit the lap car there. So hard and throats moment here. You do have to execute at the end of it all. But McMacken continues. It was the lap car of Greg Palmer that got in McMacken's way. And McMacken will just sort himself through Canada Corner and I think just try and survive more than anything else. Certainly some damage to the 19 machine, but if he can make it around and finish this off, it will be enough for McMacken. He comes through 13 and through turn 14 for the final time, and it will be enough for Brady McMacken to bring himself. No turns now, no worries, no lap traffic to get in the way, just one Series 4 Rookie Class Championship to the 19 machine of Brady McMacken. And McMacken, to his credit, had all the consistency in the world. It was not any sort of question whatsoever about talent and ability. It was just about getting the laps in, and McMacken opens his PCA Sim Racing account with a Series 4 title. A big, big moment for Brady McMacken to come through and get the victory here in the finale for Series 4 of PCA Sim Racing. A big, big moment for McMacken to get it done, and a big moment for everybody on that number 19 as well, as McMacken comes home with the victory and Juan Albers comes away with the race victory. So we will try and get a word with both drivers here in just a bit, but for now we bring you our full field rundown to tell you what your favorite driver finished. Juan Albers comes home in P1 over Brent Rosen in second. Michael Cooper-Smith with the pit strategy had the fastest car, but will have to settle for a third-place finish. Fourth was Dwayne Cronin in the 1. Gary Reich finished in the fifth spot. 6th went to John D'Angelo. Jared Rodeheaver finished tonight in 7th. 8th went to Kevin Douglas. Lance Wilsey finished in the 9th position. In 10th was Chris Savarowski. Brady McMacken, your champion, finishes 11th in this race. 12th on the last car on the lead lap was Timothy Watson. Kurt Clifford finished in the 13th spot. 14th went to Brian Leary. Rob Phillips finished in 15th this evening. 16th went to Tyler Edwards. Chris Randall finished in 17th. 18th was Brian Gillinelli. 19th to Dean Chapman, and Bruce Fravery came home in 20th. Ronald Cahill was 21st this evening. 22nd was Lanre Sarumi. Ryan McGee, 23rd on the night. 24th went to Greg Palmer. Jonathan Brell finished in 25th. David Trinder, 26th. And Jim Hemming in the 5 came home in 27th. As we turn our attention to some of the top drivers in tonight's race, we'll look forward to talking to some of the best of the game. And we now turn our attention to the rookie class champion, Brady McMacken, who came home 11th tonight. Brady McMacken is your Series 4 PCA Sim Racing rookie class champion. And Brady, that has to feel special in every way, every shape, every form, no?
Yeah, it feels great. Feels lucky. Just got in there and finished every race.
Consistency got you this class championship. How important do you think this class is, in particular, in teaching some of the new drivers to PCA Sim Racing about the importance of consistency on these road courses where you have so many different opportunities to go 110%, but that isn't necessarily always the best course of action?
No, I think it's great. I started out, this is my first time doing any kind of sim racing. I learned a lot the whole way. I think everybody did. We had some really fast drivers join mid-season, and I think we're all thankful that they weren't there the whole time.
And to bring this back for the Oregon region too, and to the greater Portland area, pretty cool. You've got some talented drivers up that way between you and Jeff C. in the high desert region in the sportsman class. Is there something in the water out towards the West Coast that we need to be watching that makes people a little bit better in these 911 GTLMs?
Yeah, I think so. It's the magic rain we get. We learn how to drive in all conditions.
It trains you for everything, yeah. Since we've got a little bit here, tell us about your involvement with the Oregon region, the PCA, and what you do with them in real life outside of the current times and the situation, of course.
I'm actually just dipping my toe in it now. This is kind of the gateway drug, I guess you could call it. I'm just looking forward to getting out there and doing more sim racing and getting more involved with the region, actually. It's been a really great experience, and I'm really happy I stumbled upon it.
And how much were you able to take advantage of the EDE and some of the services that PCA Sim Racing offered, especially for Year 2 and Series 4, to help make you a better driver throughout the course of the season?
Oh, it was huge. I can't thank those guys enough. I got out there, looked like I didn't know what I was doing because I didn't. They jump in your car with you. They tell you to slow down, tell you the line, teach you all the little tricks. It's amazing. It's a really great thing we have going.
EDE Works. That's e-driver's education for those who are a little bit more familiar with the regular driver's education that the real-life PCA offers. But Brady, they will now have to introduce you when you get to meetups in the Oregon region as Brady McMacken, PCA Sim Racing champion. I know there are a lot of people that make that all possible. Who do you need to thank for your title run in Series 4?
I got to thank everybody else that competed in it. Everybody that was patient with me along the way. I got to thank my family for leaving me alone for these couple hours a week. And I got to thank my employer for making me work from home so I can get a little more practice in.
Well, Brady, on behalf of everyone at the PCA and Podium Esports, congratulations on your rookie class title in Series 4 of PCA Sim Racing. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. And go celebrate. Go enjoy this one. You've earned it.
Well, thank you.
Brady McMacken, your rookie class champion of PCA Sim Racing for Series 4. We'll take a quick commercial break, and then when we get back on the other side, it's time for the Sportsman class finale from Road America here on the iRacing Esports Network.
Virtual Racing School was developed to provide support to the next generation of sim racers. No matter if you're a rookie or veteran or what car or track you'll be racing, our goal is to provide training every step of the way. We found that iRacing can be quite difficult without proper training. There needed to be a way to prepare for on-track racing. With VRS, you can literally learn from the best sim racers in the world, including 4-time NASCAR iRacing World Champion Ray Alfala.
And Ray Alfala is a 4-time champion of the NASCAR PCASRS iRacing Series.
3-time iRacing Grand Prix World Champion Martin Kroenke.
Martin Kroenke becomes a 3-time world champion.
Rallycross World Champion Mitchell de Jong.
Mitchell de Jong is now champion for the iRacing Rallycross World Championship Series.
And many other top sim racers. Data packs include everything you need to start learning. Our World Championship coaches create the data packs by setting a hot lap or a series of fast laps for you to compare, analyze, and replicate. Data packs also include a tutorial where the coach points out techniques they use to hit the fast lap. This gives you access to the latest driving techniques and setups before you even hit the track. Sign up for a free account and download the VRS telemetry logger. With this application running seamlessly in the background, your laps automatically start syncing to the VRS website. From there, you can analyze and compare 2 laps of your choice, whether it's your data, the coaches, or your teammates. VRS will automatically target improvement opportunities so you can get up to speed even faster. VRS also makes it easy for you to request and schedule one-on-one or group coaching sessions. These sessions can range from 30 to 90 minutes, and you can select the car, track, and setup combination of your choice. Visit virtualracingschool.com today to sign up and get started.